Well, as 2024 draws to a close and winter sets in, Russian forces are continuing to push their Ukrainian opponents back. Our cover report on Fine Print tells you how Moscow is deploying heavy firepower in the battlefield as Kiev continues to vouch for diplomacy as the only way to end the three-year war.
Winter deepens, and so does the ferocity of the battlefield. Russian forces are advancing with heavy firepower, pushing Ukrainian defenders further back. Bombarded with relentless missile strikes and drone swarms, Ukraine struggles to hold its lines. Moscow continues to unleash glide bombs to devastating effect. Iranian-made Shahid drones and ballistic missiles are creating chaos across the front lines. Russian forces are methodically targeting critical Ukrainian military infrastructure, striking airfields with calculated precision. Ukrainian troops, exhausted after nearly 3 years of grueling combat, find themselves pushed back by an overwhelming onslaught of Russian military might.
For me, I'm in a grief. I've had people died, so for right now I'm in a grief, and it's hard as to be a commander and tell their families and I don't know, and thinking about what could have been done to just for these people not to die. And
after the First World War, we were abandoned by Europe again, just like we are being abandoned now, and we will be under Russia, because now it doesn't matter if Trump is the president or not. They'll make a deal with Russia again. We'll be absorbed. NATO doesn't want us, and no one wants to sign any specific security agreement with us.
President Volodymyr Zelensky confronts a rapidly deteriorating situation, desperately seeking a diplomatic resolution. His latest proposal involves potentially deploying foreign troops to secure Ukraine's territorial integrity and pave the way for NATO membership.
We talked about the frozen conflict, Ed, in recent meeting with Trump and Macron. I said that we want the war to end more than anyone else in the world. Certainly, a diplomatic end to the war will bring more lives saved, and we want that.
The potential return of Donald Trump to the presidency sends tremors through Ukraine's strategic calculations. Trump's previous warnings about reducing military aid and potentially withdrawing from NATO have heightened Ukraine's existential anxiety. Experts fear these threats could fundamentally alter the conflict's dynamics, potentially forcing Kiev into a compromising negotiating position. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Let's talk more about what is happening in Ukraine. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis is a military expert and host of Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube. He's now joining us live from Virginia, the United States. Colonel Davis, good to see you. Let's start with what the Polish Prime Minister did say. He says that a peace talk or a peace deal might be reached in this winter. I'll just read part of the statement that he gave a few hours ago. As you can imagine, our delegation will be co-responsible for, among other things, what the political calendar will look like. Perhaps the situation will be like during the negotiations, which may, although there is still a question mark, start in the winter of this year. Do you think it is feasible?
I think it's inevitable. I mean, there is no other alternative, with the possible exception of ignoring the reality on the ground and then the Ukraine side suffering a military defeat, at which time they're given terms of surrender. I know that shocks a lot of people to even hear that, because some people, I think your correspondent there mentioned that some are suggesting that it is possible that a negotiated deal could be, less than ideal for Kiev, but there is no good deal that's even possible for Kiev. And a quicker, I think that people recognize, especially among the Western leaders, what's been true for a very long time on the ground, that they need to reach a negotiated settlement on the best terms they can get, which aren't going to be good now, not as good as they could have been earlier in the war, or even worse outcome is going to follow. That's the bottom line right now that's inescapable.
Colonel Davis, we saw what happened in France a few days ago, where President Emmanuel Macron and the President-elect of the United States, Donald Trump, met with Volodymyr Zelensky, and now we understand that Macron will head to Warsaw to brief Tusk and Duda on the U.S.-Ukraine talks. Do you think diplomacy is the right way to go right now, as it is being said by, Volodymyr Zelensky?
Truly, it's the only path if we care about preserving what's left of Ukraine. And I think the cards are as clear as they can be. Trump said, not just in an interview on U.S. media over the weekend, but also in his Truth Social, he wants an immediate ceasefire, and then he wants a negotiated settlement. So there is no question. He further said in that same interview, when asked, are you going to reduce the amount of aid, he said yes. So there's no question that the end has arrived, and now that a negotiated settlement is definitely going to take place. That is combined and probably driven by the fact, when you look on the battlefield, not merely are the lines continuing to move to the west against the Ukraine side, but the Wall Street Journal just reported a couple of days ago how the amount of drone, missile, and airstrikes against the Ukraine side has tripled over the past 3 months from the previous 3 months, and 4 times greater than the year before over the same months. At the same time, the amount of territory continues to escalate every single month that Russia gains. Everywhere you look, the battle on the ground is going rapidly and increasingly against Ukraine, and on the diplomatic front, the cards are set. There is no other path.
Colonel Davis, finally and very quickly, what do you think about, or what do you make about this statement by Zelensky, which he has actually praised Donald Trump, saying that he's the feared leader by Putin? How do you think Putin will take that?
I don't think Putin will pay any attention to it whatsoever, because Putin knows that he has all the cards for a negotiation, and I think that he's completely unconcerned about anything Zelensky says, frankly.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. I've been talking to retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, who is a military expert and also host of Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube. Colonel Davis, as always, thank you.
Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.